Welcome to today's video where I will tell you the full story of Moses and his journey in the Nile straight from the Holy Bible itself. Now this story begins in the book of Exodus, when a new king came to power in Egypt who did not know Joseph. He saw that the Israelites were becoming numerous and strong, and he feared they might join Egypt's enemies during a war. So, he enslaved them and made their lives bitter with hard labor. But despite the oppression, the Israelites continued to multiply. And this led Pharaoh to give a dreadful order. Every Hebrew boy that is born, you must throw into the Nile, but let every girl live. Exodus 1:22. During this dark time, a Levite woman gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a beautiful child, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Exodus 2:3-4. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her female slave to get it. She opened it and saw the baby. He was crying and she felt sorry for him. "This is one of the Hebrew babies," she said. Exodus 2:5-6. Then the baby's sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?" "Yes, go," she answered. So the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you." So the woman took the baby and nursed him. When the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, "I drew him out of the water." Exodus February 7th, 10. And so, through faith and divine orchestration, Moses, who was destined to lead his people out of slavery, was saved from the waters of the Nile. In this chapter we will explore the events of Exodus 2, where Moses kills an Egyptian and flees to Midian. One day after Moses had grown up, he went out to where his own people were and watched them at their hard labor. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own people. Looking this way and that and seeing no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. The next day he went out and saw 2 Hebrews fighting. He asked the one in the wrong, "Why are you hitting your fellow Hebrew?" The man said, "Who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian?" Then Moses was afraid and thought, "What I did must have become known." When Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to kill Moses, but Moses fled from Pharaoh and went to live in Midian, where he sat down by a well. Now a priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came to draw water and fill the troughs to water their father's flock. Some shepherds came along and drove them away, but Moses got up and came to their rescue and watered their flock. When the girls returned to roil their father, he asked them, "Why have you returned so early today?" They answered, "An Egyptian rescued us from the shepherds. He even drew water for us and watered the flock." "And where is he?" Renewal asked his daughters. "Why did you leave him? Invite him to have something to eat." Moses agreed to stay with the man, who gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses in marriage. Zipporah gave birth to a son, and Moses named him Gershom, saying, "I have become a foreigner in a foreign land." Through these events, Moses began a new chapter in his life, one that would eventually lead him back to Egypt, not as a prince, but as a prophet chosen by God to lead his people to freedom. In this chapter, we will explore the events of Exodus 3, where Moses encounters God in the burning bush. Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. So Moses thought, "I will go over and see this strange sight, why the bush does not burn up." When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, "Moses, Moses." And Moses said, "Here I am." "Do not come any closer," God said. "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." Then he said, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." At this, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. The Lord said, "I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. And now the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them, so now go, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people the Israelites out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? And God said, I will be with you, and this will be the sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. This divine encounter marked a pivotal moment in Moses' life, transforming him from a shepherd in the wilderness to the chosen leader of God's people. It set the stage for the epic journey that would lead the Israelites from the chains of slavery to the promise of freedom. In this chapter we delve into the intense and dramatic events of Exodus 5:6, where Moses returns to Egypt to confront Pharaoh, demanding the release of the Israelites. With Aaron by his side, Moses stands before the mighty ruler of Egypt, a man whose heart is hardened against the pleas of the oppressed. Moses and Aaron entered Pharaoh's court, their hearts filled with the divine mission entrusted to them. They declared boldly, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel says, let my people go so that they may hold a festival to me in the wilderness." But Pharaoh, with a voice dripping with contempt, replied, "Who is the Lord that I should obey him and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go." Undeterred by Pharaoh's arrogance, Moses and Aaron pressed on. "The God of the Hebrews has met with us. Now let us take a 3-day journey into the wilderness to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God, or he may strike us with plagues or with the sword." But Pharaoh's heart grew colder. He accused the Israelites of laziness and commanded the taskmasters to increase their labor. "Make the work harder for the people so that they keep working and pay no attention to lies," he ordered. The Israelites' suffering intensified as they were forced to gather their own straw for brickmaking while maintaining their quota. Their cries of anguish echoed through the land, reaching the ears of Moses and Aaron. The people turned on them, their hope replaced by despair. "May the Lord look on you and judge you. You have made us obnoxious to Pharaoh and his officials and have put a sword in their hand to kill us." Moses, burdened by the weight of his people's suffering, returned to the Lord and asked, "Why, Lord, why have you brought trouble on this people? Is this why you sent me? Ever since I went to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has brought trouble on this people, and you have not rescued your people at all." But the Lord reassured Moses, "Now you will see what I will do to Pharaoh. Because of my mighty hand he will let them go. Because of my mighty hand he will drive them out of his country." God reminded Moses of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and assured him that he had heard the groaning of the Israelites enslaved by the Egyptians. God promised deliverance. "I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians. I will free you from being slaves to them, and I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with mighty acts of judgment." This chapter sets the stage for the epic struggle between the divine will and human defiance. It highlights the unwavering faith of Moses and the Israelites' journey from despair to hope, as they await the mighty acts of God that will lead them to freedom. The stage was set for a divine showdown, and the time had come for God to demonstrate his power through a series of devastating plagues upon Egypt. These plagues, chronicled in Exodus 7:10, would serve as a testament to the might of the God of Israel and a harrowing experience for Pharaoh and his people. It began with the turning of the Nile's waters into blood. As Moses and Aaron stood by the riverbank, Aaron raised his staff and struck the water. Instantly, the river turned to blood, and the fish within it died, filling the air with a foul stench. The Egyptians were left without a source of fresh water, their lifeblood turned against them. Yet Pharaoh's heart remained hard. He summoned his magicians who replicated the miracle through their secret arts, and his resolve only strengthened. Undeterred, God sent a second plague. Frogs emerged from the Nile, swarming into homes, bedrooms, and kitchens, covering every inch of Egypt. The relentless amphibians brought chaos and discomfort, forcing Pharaoh to plead with Moses to entreat the Lord to remove the frogs. But once the plague ceased, Pharaoh's heart hardened once again. Next came the plague of gnats. Aaron struck the dust of the earth and it turned into gnats, infesting people and animals alike. The magicians of Egypt tried to replicate the miracle but failed, admitting, "This is the finger of God." Despite their acknowledgement, Pharaoh remained obstinate. Following the gnats came the plague of flies. Swarms of flies filled Egyptian homes and land, sparing only the land of Goshen where the Israelites lived. The flies brought ruin and despair, yet Pharaoh's heart remained unyielding. God then sent a deadly pestilence upon the Egyptian livestock. Horses, donkeys, camels, cattle, sheep, and goats fell ill and perished. But not a single animal belonging to the Israelites was harmed. Still, Pharaoh's heart was unbending. Boils followed, afflicting the Egyptians and their animals with painful sores. Pharaoh's magicians could not even stand before Moses, so severe were their afflictions. Yet the ruler's heart did not soften. Then came the hail. Moses stretched out his staff towards the sky, and the Lord sent thunder, hail, and lightning flashing down to the earth. The hail struck down everything in the fields, both man and beast, and shattered every tree. Only in Goshen, where the Israelites were, was there no hail. Pharaoh admitted his sin and promised to let the Israelites go, but once the storm ceased, he hardened his heart again. Locusts were next, devouring every plant and tree that the hail had left. The land was stripped bare, and Egypt was plunged into famine. Pharaoh hastily summoned Moses, but even after the locusts were driven into the Red Sea, his heart remained unchanged. Finally, darkness fell over Egypt, a darkness that could be felt. For 3 days no one could see anyone else or move about, but all the Israelites had light where they lived, yet Pharaoh's heart was still hardened, and he refused to let the Israelites go. This chapter reveals the relentless power of God and the stubbornness of Pharaoh. It sets the stage for the ultimate act of divine intervention, as the struggle between the will of God and the pride of man reaches its climax. As the previous plagues failed to break Pharaoh's resolve, God prepared to deliver the final, most devastating blow to Egypt. This ultimate plague would strike at the very heart of every Egyptian household, and it would mark the beginning of the Israelites' liberation. Chronicled in Exodus 11:12, this final act of divine judgment would also establish a sacred tradition for the Israelites, the Passover. God instructed Moses to warn Pharaoh of the impending disaster. About midnight I will go throughout Egypt. Every firstborn son in Egypt will die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on the throne to the firstborn of the slave girl who is at her handmill, and all the firstborn of the cattle as well. There will be loud wailing throughout Egypt, worse than there has ever been or ever will be again. Pharaoh's heart remained hardened, and he refused to heed the warning. Meanwhile, God provided specific instructions to Moses and Aaron for the Israelites. Each family was to take a lamb, one without defect, and slaughter it at twilight. They were to take some of the blood and put it on the sides and tops of the door frames of their houses. That night they were to eat the roasted lamb, along with bitter herbs and bread made without yeast. This meal was to be eaten in haste, with their cloaks tucked into their belts, sandals on their feet, and staffs in their hands. It was the Lord's Passover. God would pass through Egypt that night and strike down every firstborn, but when he saw the blood on the door frames, he would pass over those houses, sparing the Israelites from the plague of death. At midnight the Lord struck down all the firstborn in Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh to the firstborn of the prisoner in the dungeon, and the firstborn of all the livestock as well. There was loud wailing in Egypt, for there was not a house without someone dead. Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron during the night and said, "Up, leave my people, you and the Israelites. Go, worship the Lord as you have requested. Take your flocks and herds as you have said, and go, and also bless me." The Israelites left Egypt in haste, taking with them unleavened dough, their kneading troughs wrapped in clothing, and all their possessions. They also took silver, gold, and clothing from the Egyptians, who urged them to leave quickly for fear of further devastation. This night marked the beginning of the Exodus, the great journey of the Israelites from slavery to freedom. It also established the Passover as a lasting ordinance for generations to come. Each year the Israelites would commemorate their deliverance from Egypt with a solemn festival, remembering how the Lord passed over their houses and spared them from destruction. The final plague and the first Passover stand as a powerful testament to God's deliverance and the beginning of a new chapter for the Israelites. It is a story of faith, obedience, and the unyielding power of God's promise. As dawn broke and the Israelites set out on their journey to freedom, they were guided by the Lord, who went before them in a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. The divine presence led them through the wilderness toward the Red Sea, a route that was both miraculous and perilous. Pharaoh, realizing the loss of his slave labor force, had a change of heart. He mustered his chariots and army, setting out in pursuit of the fleeing Israelites. The sight of the approaching Egyptian forces filled the Israelites with fear and despair. They cried out to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt?" But Moses, steadfast in his faith, reassured the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." The Lord then commanded Moses to stretch out his hand over the sea. As he did, the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind, turning it into dry land. The waters were divided, and the Israelites walked through the sea on dry ground, with walls of water on their right and on their left. As the Egyptian army pursued them, the Lord looked down from the pillar of fire and cloud, causing confusion among the Egyptians. He jammed the wheels of their chariots, making it difficult for them to drive. Seeing the chaos, the Egyptians realized the Lord was fighting for Israel and attempted to flee. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea so that the waters may flow back over the Egyptians and their chariots and horsemen." Moses obeyed, and the sea returned to its place at daybreak. The waters covered the chariots and horsemen, the entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea. Not one of them survived. The Israelites saw the mighty hand of the Lord displayed against the Egyptians, and their faith was strengthened. They feared the Lord and put their trust in him and in his servant Moses. On the other side of the Red Sea, the Israelites celebrated their miraculous deliverance with songs of praise and thanksgiving. Miriam, the prophetess and sister of Moses, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women followed her with tambourines and dancing. Miriam sang to them, "Sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. Both horse and driver he has hurled into the sea." This momentous event marked not only the physical liberation of the Israelites but also a profound spiritual victory. It was a testament to God's unwavering promise and his power to save. The crossing of the Red Sea became a cornerstone of Israel's faith, a story of divine intervention and deliverance that would be told for generations to come. As the Israelites continued their journey through the wilderness, the initial euphoria of their miraculous escape began to wane. The harsh reality of the desert set in, and soon they found themselves in desperate need of food and water. The people grumbled against Moses and Aaron, lamenting their plight. They said, "If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted, but you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death." But the Lord, ever compassionate and faithful, heard their cries. He told Moses, "I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions." And so the next morning the ground was covered with a thin, flaky substance as fine as frost. When the Israelites saw it, they asked each other, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. Moses said to them, "It is the bread the Lord has given you to eat. This is what the Lord has commanded. Everyone is to gather as much as they need." The Israelites called the bread manna, and it sustained them throughout their journey. But their needs did not end there. They grew tired of manna and longed for meat. Once again, they grumbled and tested the Lord's patience. Yet, in his mercy, the Lord provided. That evening, quail came and covered the camp, and in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. When the dew was gone, thin flakes like frost on the ground appeared. The people gathered it, and it was enough to feed them. Despite these provisions, the Israelites faced another trial: thirst. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. They quarreled with Moses, saying, "Give us water to drink." Moses cried out to the Lord, "What am I to do with these people? They are almost ready to stone me." The Lord answered Moses, "Go out in front of the people. Take with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile, and go. I will stand there before you by the rock at Horeb. Strike the rock, and water will come out of it for the people to drink." Moses did as the Lord commanded, and water gushed out of the rock, quenching the thirst of the Israelites. This place was named Massah and Meribah because the Israelites quarreled and tested the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?" Through these acts of divine provision, the Lord demonstrated his unwavering care and faithfulness. He provided manna, quail, and water, ensuring his people were sustained. These miracles in the wilderness reinforced the Israelites' reliance on God and his ability to provide for their every need, even in the most desolate of places. The journey through the desert was not just a physical passage, but a profound spiritual journey, teaching the Israelites to trust and depend on their divine provider. As the Israelites continued their arduous journey through the wilderness, Moses found himself overwhelmed by the constant demands and disputes of the people. From dawn till dusk he sat as judge, hearing their grievances and delivering judgments. His father-in-law, Jethro, observed this and saw the toll it was taking on Moses. One evening Jethro approached Moses with concern. "What is this you are doing for the people? Why do you sit alone as judge, while all these people stand around you from morning till evening?" he asked. Moses replied, "Because the people come to me to seek God's will. Whenever they have a dispute, it is brought to me, and I decide between the parties and inform them of God's decrees and instructions." Jethro, wise and experienced, saw the inefficiency and potential danger in this system. He advised Moses, "What you are doing is not good. You and these people who come to you will only wear yourselves out. The work is too heavy for you, you cannot handle it alone. Listen now to me, and I will give you some advice, and may God be with you." Jethro continued, "You must be the people's representative before God and bring their disputes to him. Teach them his decrees and instructions and show them the way they are to live and how they are to behave. But select capable men from all the people, men who fear God, trustworthy men who hate dishonest gain, and appoint them as officials over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. Have them serve as judges for the people at all times, but have them bring every difficult case to you. The simple cases they can decide themselves. That will make your load lighter, because they will share it with you. If you do this, and God so commands, you will be able to stand the strain, and all these people will go home satisfied." Moses listened to his father-in-law and did everything he said. He chose capable men from all Israel and made them leaders of the people, officials over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. They served as judges for the people at all times. The difficult cases they brought to Moses, but the simple ones they decided themselves. This wise counsel from Jethro not only relieved Moses of an unbearable burden, but also established a more efficient and just system of governance among the Israelites. It allowed Moses to focus on his primary role as the spiritual leader and mediator between God and his people, ensuring that the community could function smoothly and harmoniously. Through this act, Jethro's wisdom became a cornerstone in the governance of the fledgling nation, demonstrating that divine guidance often comes through the counsel of wise and trusted advisors. As the Israelites journeyed further into the wilderness, they came to the foot of Mount Sinai. It was here that a monumental event was about to unfold, one that would shape their identity and laws for generations to come. The mountain loomed large, its peaks shrouded in thick clouds. The air was electric with anticipation as Moses ascended the mountain to meet with God. The Israelites were instructed to purify themselves and stay at the base, as this was a sacred moment. On the third day, thunder roared and lightning flashed across the sky. A thick cloud descended upon the mountain, and the sound of a trumpet blast grew louder and louder, signaling the presence of the divine. The entire mountain trembled violently, and the people stood in awe and fear. God called Moses to the top of the mountain and spoke to him, saying, "I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me." Thus began the delivery of the 10 Commandments, a divine code of ethics and moral imperatives. One by one the commandments were given. "You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth beneath or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Honor your father and your mother so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male or female servant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor." These commandments were more than just rules. They were a covenant, a sacred agreement between God and his chosen people. They were to be the foundation of their society, guiding their actions, their relationships, and their worship. As Moses descended the mountain, carrying the stone tablets inscribed with God's words, the people saw the radiance of his face, a reflection of the divine glory he had witnessed. They knew that they had been given a precious gift, a direct link to the will of their Creator. This moment at Mount Sinai was not just a historical event, it was the birth of a nation under God, bound by divine law and purpose. The 10 Commandments would serve as an enduring testament to their covenant with the Almighty, a guiding light through the ages. Following the monumental event of receiving the 10 Commandments, Moses continued to commune with God on Mount Sinai. The divine presence was not yet finished with imparting wisdom and guidance to his chosen people. God began to provide Moses with detailed laws that would govern every aspect of Israelite life, ensuring justice, compassion, and holiness among the community. These laws, found in Exodus chapters 21 to 23, covered a wide range of topics from social justice, personal injury, and property rights to religious observances and the treatment of foreigners. They were designed to create a just and compassionate society where every individual, regardless of their status, would be treated with dignity and respect. God spoke to Moses saying, "These are the laws you are to set before them." The laws began with instructions on the treatment of servants, emphasizing fairness and humane treatment. If you buy a Hebrew servant, he is to serve you for 6 years, but in the 7th year, he shall go free without paying anything. The laws also addressed violent crimes and personal injury, establishing a principle of proportional justice. If there is serious injury, you are to take life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. Property laws were given to ensure fairness in disputes over ownership and damage. If a man grazes his livestock in a field or vineyard and lets them stray, and they graze in another man's field, he must make restitution from the best of his own field or vineyard. God also emphasized the importance of justice and equality, commanding the Israelites to treat everyone fairly, including foreigners. Do not mistreat or oppress a foreigner, for you were foreigners in Egypt. Religious and moral laws were also included, guiding the Israelites in their worship and ethical conduct. Do not follow the crowd in doing wrong. When you give testimony in a lawsuit, do not pervert justice by siding with the crowd. As Moses received these detailed laws, he understood that they were an extension of the covenant made with God. They were meant to shape a society that reflected God's holiness, justice, and love. The laws were to be a constant reminder of their unique relationship with the Almighty and their calling to be a light to the nations. Moses descended from the mountain once more, carrying not just the stone tablets of the 10 Commandments, but also the comprehensive laws that would guide and govern the Israelite community. The people listened intently as Moses shared God's words, realizing that they were being given a divine blueprint for a just and righteous society. These detailed laws would become an integral part of their identity, shaping their community and their relationship with God. They were more than just rules, they were a testament to God's desire for his people to live in harmony, justice, and compassion. Through these laws, the Israelites would be able to reflect God's character and fulfill their destiny as his chosen people. Following the delivery of the detailed laws to the Israelites, an even more profound moment awaited them. God called Moses once again, this time to confirm the covenant with his people. This pivotal event is recorded in Exodus 24. Moses descended from Mount Sinai and gathered the people. He recounted all the words and laws the Lord had spoken. The Israelites responded in unison, "Everything the Lord has said, we will do." Their collective commitment signified their acceptance of the covenant. To formalize this sacred agreement, Moses built an altar at the foot of the mountain and set up 12 stone pillars, representing the 12 tribes of Israel. He then sent young Israelite men who offered burnt offerings and sacrificed young bulls as fellowship offerings to the Lord. Moses took half of the blood from the sacrifices and put it in bowls, and the other half he splashed against the altar. He then read from the book of the covenant, and the people responded once more, "We will do everything the Lord has said, we will obey." Taking the blood, Moses sprinkled it on the people and declared, "This is the blood of the covenant that the Lord has made with you, in accordance with all these words." This act symbolized the binding agreement between God and the Israelites, sealed with the blood of the sacrifices. Then, in a moment of divine invitation, God called Moses, Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel to ascend the mountain. They saw the God of Israel, and under his feet was something like a pavement made of sapphire, clear as the sky itself. Though they saw God, he did not raise his hand against them. Instead, they ate and drank in his presence, a profound symbol of fellowship and communion. The Lord then instructed Moses to come up to him on the mountain and stay there. He was to receive the tablets of stone, with the law and commandments written by the finger of God. Accompanied by Joshua his aide, Moses ascended the mountain of God. He entrusted Aaron and Hur with the leadership of the people in his absence. As Moses climbed higher, a cloud covered the mountain, and the glory of the Lord settled on Mount Sinai. For 6 days the cloud covered the mountain, and on the 7th day the Lord called to Moses from within the cloud. To the Israelites below, the glory of the Lord looked like a consuming fire on top of the mountain. Moses entered the cloud and went up the mountain where he stayed for 40 days and 40 nights. During this time, God would give him detailed instructions for building the tabernacle, the sacred place where God would dwell among his people. This chapter of the covenant confirmation and Moses' ascent into the divine presence marked a significant moment in the relationship between God and the Israelites. It was a testament to their commitment to follow God's laws and the beginning of a deeper communion with the Almighty. Following the profound confirmation of the covenant, God called Moses into a sacred communion, revealing detailed instructions for building the tabernacle and establishing the priesthood. Recorded in Exodus chapters 25 to 31, these divine blueprints were essential for creating a holy place where God would dwell among his people. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Tell the Israelites to bring me an offering. You are to receive the offering from me, from everyone whose heart prompts them to give." The contributions included gold, silver, bronze, precious stones, and various materials. These offerings would be used to construct the tabernacle, a sanctuary for God's presence. God provided Moses with specific and meticulous instructions. "Make this tabernacle and all its furnishings exactly like the pattern I will show you." The tabernacle was to be a portable dwelling place divided into 3 main areas: the outer court, the holy place, and the most holy place, or Holy of Holies. Each area had distinct features and symbolic significance. The Ark of the Covenant, crafted from acacia wood and overlaid with pure gold, was to be placed in the Holy of Holies. It would house the stone tablets of the law, a golden pot of manna, and Aaron's rod that budded. The ark represented God's throne on earth, with the mercy seat above it, flanked by 2 cherubim with outstretched wings. In the holy place there would be the table of showbread, the golden lampstand, and the altar of incense. Each item had its purpose. The showbread symbolized God's provision, the lampstand represented God's light, and the incense altar signified the prayers of the people ascending to heaven. The outer court would contain the bronze altar for burnt offerings and the bronze laver for ceremonial washing. These elements emphasized the need for atonement and purification before approaching God. Moreover, God appointed Aaron and his sons as the priests, setting them apart for sacred duties. He detailed their garments, which included the ephod, the breastplate with 12 stones representing the tribes of Israel, the robe, the turban, and the sash. These garments symbolized dignity and honor, designed for glory and beauty. God also provided instructions for consecrating the priests, involving sacrifices and anointing with oil. The consecration ceremony would sanctify them for their holy service, ensuring they were prepared to minister before the Lord. Finally, God emphasized the importance of the Sabbath, a sign of the covenant between him and the Israelites, a perpetual reminder of creation and God's rest. As Moses absorbed these divine instructions, he understood the significance of every detail. The tabernacle and the priesthood were not merely physical constructs but profound symbols of God's desire to dwell among his people and guide them in holiness. With these blueprints in hand, Moses prepared to return to the Israelites, ready to transform the divine vision into a tangible reality. The construction of the tabernacle would be a testament to their obedience and a manifestation of God's presence in their midst. Thus, the sacred journey continued, with God's divine blueprint guiding his people towards a deeper, more intimate relationship with the Almighty. While Moses was on Mount Sinai, communing with God and receiving the divine instructions for the tabernacle and priesthood, the Israelites grew restless. With their leader absent for an extended period, they approached Aaron with a troubling demand. "Come, make us gods who will go before us. As for this fellow Moses who brought us up out of Egypt, we don't know what has happened to him." Aaron, succumbing to their pressure, instructed them to bring their gold earrings. He melted them down and fashioned a golden calf. The people proclaimed, "These are your gods, Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt." They built an altar before the calf and offered sacrifices, indulging in revelry and idolatry. Meanwhile on the mountain, God informed Moses of the people's betrayal. "Go down because your people, whom you brought up out of Egypt, have become corrupt. They have been quick to turn away from what I commanded them, and have made themselves an idol cast in the shape of a calf." God's anger burned against the Israelites, and he threatened to destroy them and make a great nation out of Moses. Moses pleaded with God, reminding him of his promises to Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. He interceded for the people, asking God to relent from his fierce anger. The Lord listened to Moses' plea and spared the Israelites from immediate destruction, descending from the mountain with the 2 stone tablets inscribed by the finger of God. Moses encountered Joshua, who mistook the noise from the camp for the sound of war. But as they drew closer, they realized it was the sound of singing. Moses saw the golden calf and the people dancing around it. His anger flared, and he threw the tablets out of his hands, breaking them to pieces at the foot of the mountain. Moses took the calf the people had made, burned it in the fire, ground it to powder, scattered it on the water, and made the Israelites drink it. He confronted Aaron, demanding to know how such a grave sin had occurred. Aaron tried to deflect blame, recounting the people's demands and his actions, but Moses was resolute. Moses then stood at the entrance to the camp and called out, "Whoever is for the Lord, come to me." The Levites rallied to him, and under his command, they executed God's judgment on the idolaters, resulting in the deaths of about 3,000 men. The following day, Moses returned to the Lord, seeking atonement for the people's sin. He offered to have his name blotted out of God's book, if it would secure their forgiveness. God responded, "Whoever has sinned against me, I will blot out of my book. Now go, lead the people to the place I spoke of, and my angel will go before you. However, when the time comes for me to punish, I will punish them for their sin." God sent a plague on the people because of their idolatry with the golden calf. This episode served as a profound reminder of the consequences of turning away from God and the importance of steadfast faith and obedience. Moses' actions, breaking the tablets and interceding for the people, underscored his role as a mediator and leader committed to guiding the Israelites towards righteousness. The journey towards the promised land continued, but the shadow of the golden calf lingered, a testament to the perils of impatience and the need for unwavering devotion to the Lord. After the grievous sin of the golden calf and the breaking of the tablets, Moses once again ascended Mount Sinai to seek God's mercy and guidance. The Lord, in his boundless compassion, instructed Moses to chisel out 2 new stone tablets like the first ones. Early in the morning, Moses climbed Mount Sinai with the tablets in hand, ready to meet the Lord once more. The Lord descended in the cloud and stood with Moses, proclaiming his name, the Lord. He passed in front of Moses, declaring, the Lord, the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness, maintaining love to thousands, and forgiving wickedness, rebellion, and sin. Yet he does not leave the guilty unpunished. He punishes the children and their children for the sin of the parents to the 3rd and 4th generation. Moses bowed to the ground at once and worshipped. "Lord," he said, "if I have found favor in your eyes, then let the Lord go with us. Although this is a stiff-necked people, forgive our wickedness and our sin, and take us as your inheritance." The Lord responded, "I am making a covenant with you. Before all your people I will do wonders never before done in any nation in all the world. The people you live among will see how awesome is the work that I, the Lord, will do for you. Obey what I command you today. I will drive out before you the Amorites, Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. Be careful not to make a treaty with those who live in the land where you are going, or they will be a snare among you. Break down their altars, smash their sacred stones, and cut down their Asherah poles. Do not worship any other god, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God." The Lord continued to give Moses detailed instructions and renewed the covenant with the Israelites. Moses stayed on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights without eating bread or drinking water. He wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. When Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of the covenant law in his hands, he was not aware that his face was radiant because he had spoken with the Lord. Aaron and all the Israelites saw Moses and were afraid to come near him. But Moses called to them, and so Aaron and all the leaders of the community came back to him, and he spoke to them. Afterward, all the Israelites came near him, and he gave them all the commands the Lord had given him on Mount Sinai. When Moses finished speaking to them, he put a veil over his face, but whenever he entered the Lord's presence to speak with him, he removed the veil until he came out. And when he came out and told the Israelites what he had been commanded, they saw that his face was radiant. Then Moses would put the veil back over his face until he went in to speak with the Lord. This renewal of the covenant symbolized a new beginning for the Israelites, a chance to reaffirm their commitment to God and His commandments. The new tablets, inscribed with the same divine laws, served as a tangible reminder of God's unwavering love and faithfulness despite the people's transgressions. The journey to the Promised Land continued, guided by the renewed covenant and the hope of a brighter future under God's steadfast protection. Following the renewal of the covenant and the creation of the new tablets, the Israelites embarked on a monumental task, building the Tabernacle, a sacred space where God's presence would dwell among them. As God had commanded, the people of Israel came together in a unified effort. They brought offerings of gold, silver, and bronze, each contribution reflecting their devotion and willingness to follow God's instructions. Skilled craftsmen filled with wisdom and talent worked diligently to create every intricate detail of the tabernacle, from the fine curtains to the ornate furnishings. The construction was meticulous, adhering to the detailed instructions given by God to Moses on Mount Sinai. Each piece, every element was crafted with reverence and care, reflecting the divine blueprint. As the final touches were made, the tabernacle stood as a testament to the people's faith and obedience. It became the central place of worship for the Israelites, a tangible symbol of God's presence and their covenant relationship with Him. The completion of the tabernacle marked a significant milestone in the journey of the Israelites, reinforcing their commitment to God and His commandments. It was a beacon of hope and a reminder of the divine guidance that would lead them to the promised land.